Y'all have been waiting for this day, haven't you? Well, I'm here to deliver. Ever since I made the video about the worst change courses in Mario Kart Tour, my channel has gained a pretty significant following, starting with a spike in views and now nearing 600 subscribers. Words can't describe how I feel about all of this happening, so thank you. It's the least I can do. With that being said, I considered the possibility of doing a spiritual successor to that video, alongside an updated one with your suggestions. While that video is currently on hold, I haven't put my mind down for this video, so without further delay, let's finally jump into Mario Kart Tour again and discuss the best changed courses the game has to offer. Much like the worst changed courses video, I'll be starting the video with a progressive scale, this time going from minor changes that are still effective to surprisingly good additions that make the track feel brand new. With that in mind, let's jump right in with the first course. And starting off the expanded list, we have another course that doesn't change things gameplay wise, but excels in visuals. That track is none other than DK Summit! What, you thought I was going to say Rainbow Road? Well, to be fair, Rainbow Road is one of the most impressive looking courses in Tour, but the change made to the track is... yeah, I'll talk about it some other time. Anyway, DK Summit, or DK Snowboard Cross. This track, much like Airship Fortress, plays the same as it has in Wii, but while Airship Fortress has an aesthetic that's not bad, but something I wasn't a huge fan of, this track might actually be the opposite. Not saying the original one looked worse, but I will admit that it looked pretty plain on Wii, but in Tour, it's much more vibrant, giving it a sunny atmosphere to the whole track. The track also has changed the statue from Mario to DK, possibly to accurately reflect the course's name. It's a pretty minor thing to mention here, but it's the little things that make this remake all the more special. It may not bring in gameplay changes, but it certainly outdid itself better than Wii. Now hopefully, if it ever comes to the Booster Course Pass, they'll add in the fog progression again. That'll be sweet. Our next course does have a few changes, and this time, layout is involved. The course in question may surprise you, but I believe that Vanilla Lake made a wonderful transition in the visual department. Vanilla Lake isn't often a track I don't hear many people talk fondly of, whether it's from the blinding background, the ice physics, or the fact that both versions are just a circle. Personally, I've always enjoyed Vanilla Lake's simplicity, but I was never a fan of how it used to look. When it made a surprising reappearance in Tour, the track received a major visual overhaul that's honestly for the better. Gone are the blinding white hills and snows, instead being replaced by the typical Mario hills with a more lighter blue tone that's easy for the eyes. It makes the track feel more playable than the original. Alas though, despite the great visual change, both Vanilla Lakes have retained their layouts in shape, for the most part anyways. They do have different changes that suit more for Tour's gameplay, such as the glider ramp in Vanilla Lake 1 and added shortcut ramp near the end of Vanilla Lake 2, alongside the addition of thinner layers for easy driving. Of these changes, I find that Vanilla Lake 1 received a better change, since the glider ramp is much more interesting than making 2 easier to adjust for Tour's gameplay. Regardless of whichever one is better, Vanilla Lake surprised me in more ways than one, and I'm kinda glad these changes were made, even if the layouts continue to be underwhelming. Much like our next course! For a while, I held the belief that Boo Lake has received one of the best changes that a GBA course could have had in Tour, but why? Well, for one, it actually added a lake that Super Circuit surprisingly lacked. On top of that, the track's layout wasn't altered like the previous GBA tracks that did, and moved to elevation that utilizes the underwater section of the track, not to mention a brand new path that unfortunately was reserved for the T and RT variants. Boo Lake needed a change, and it got it. But little did I know that another GBA course would steal its placement for being high on the list. Even so, after a couple of tours have passed and Wave 3 dropped, Boo Lake admittedly felt underwhelming. It's not a bad track by any means, but the layout is very simplistic, and the fact that it got in over broken piers still hurts, admittedly. Regardless of my feelings for the last bit, Boo Lake still receives some credit for impacting the course in many ways, just like other GBA courses since Cheeseland. For that, it earns its spot in the middle of the list. Our runner-up for this video is a course I didn't actually expect to like as much, but here we are. Riverside Park. I didn't think I'd see the day where I'd actually praise Riverside Park, but here we are. To be fair, it wasn't a bad trek per se. In fact, it's quite unconventional for a jungle trek to be in the Mushroom Cup for that matter. It's just that it felt like it was just there, you know? It wasn't anything remarkable, but it wasn't anything bad. Well, would you look at that? It appeared in Tour, and in true GBA fashion, it received one hell of a glow up, even more so than Boo Lake. While it still hails some problems that Boo Lake had, mainly the simplistic layout and it getting in over Lakeside Park, the changes made for this is beyond anything that I've expected, to the point where it didn't even matter as such. There's even a brand new cave section that has you jump out of a waterfall, and that's just amazing, even though it essentially replaced the big jump near the end. Now, even though this looks really good and the changes made to it help the track more, it does unfortunately suffer the mobile GBA curse, where courses with a complex layout get simplified. It was the case with Sunset Wilds, Cheap Cheap Island, and Sky Garden. And even though the former two have 50% of their layouts still intact, and the latter being so stripped down it's hardly recognizable, Riverside Park's simplicity actually works to its benefit, and it isn't anything too drastic, save for the exclusion of the long U-turn near the start. Even though this track's remake is stellar, it's still a very simple one at its core, so it isn't able to be at the top of the list. If that's the case, then what is? For our first place medal, we have Choco Mountain. Now, Choco Mountain's appearance in Tour was probably one of the most surprising inclusions back in the Exploration Tour, and it's for doing something that no other course would have done, at least back then, changing the way it plays. The original Choco Mountain on N64 and DS are good enough courses, but there wasn't much to look at, just some road between valleys and eventually a part with falling boulders. But in Tour, that track has received one hell of a renovation. Parts of the mountain have been removed, exposing a sky-high view of just how high the track is. In addition, the part of the track after entering the tunnel has transformed into an entire mining section, filled with crystals and a brand new shortcut to boot, all topped off with a gliding section at the end of the cave. To say that this track has changed so much is an understatement. It's wonderfully crafted and takes a new spin on the otherwise dull and simple valley of before. It changed so much, it was worthy of it being brought back to the Booster Course Pass. Now, even though I praise it a ton, the position for this track was back and forth between it and Riverside Park. And after some consideration, Choco Mountain's remake is honestly the better of the two, even if Riverside Park is more impressive, but I can honestly see those being interchangeable. With all that said, I can confidently say that Choco Mountain definitely earns its spot here as one of the best changed courses in Mario Kart Tour. And with that covered, that brings us to the end. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It's actually kind of crazy to think that my first video on Mario Kart Tour got me to where I am now, and I can't be more grateful. Truly, thank you guys for the immense amount of support that video received. As for the updated video on the worst changed courses, it'll come in due time, maybe. But for now, I'd like to know what you think the best changed courses are. Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, remember that Stu cares about you. Can you imagine after I post this video, Nintendo announces something for their next tour and, I actually have to rethink about this list for a minute? Wouldn't that be a disaster?